All right, a little bit of a delay, but we're back. Tova Tuesday. Once again, no Andrew Tova, but it's okay. He's living his best life. I think he's
Out
actually
in
sick.
quarantine.
Yeah. Him, Yeston, Pod Tot, all under the weather. So yeah, hope they all feel better again.
Got a mini outbreak at TSW going.
Yeah, even though most of us never met each other, but
Yeah.
it just
half the rosters and health and safety protocols this week.
Yeah, it's going through the Discord. But yeah, stay safe. That Omicron will get you, and in a hurry. Like I said last week, we've talked about everything and every team, the Denver Broncos, way too much. Bill Barnwell and his ridiculous lists, not enough. So let's start with this ridiculous list of the potential head coach openings. This is 7 teams because I don't want to read ESPN Plus right now. This is just 7 teams, right? Number 7, he assumes David Culley-less Houston Texans. Pros, their draft capital. Cons, uncertainty at QB, lie. Executive ownership mess, lack of talent. I guess, it makes sense. I guess.
To an extent, yeah. Not quarterback, though.
Yeah.
They're fine for at least a year at quarterback. I don't want to cut anyone off here, but you're not going to draft a quarterback this year. There's not a good quarterback. It ain't a good quarterback class. So why don't you take a year with Davis Mills, see how you're doing, come back to a better draft class at quarterback.
And if all goes right, you don't even need to address that need in the next draft class. I don't see any way Culley gets fired after 1 year. And it's stupid to say that at this time after they just beat the Chargers. I mean, they're 4-11. That is over. That's exceeding expectations with that roster.
3 wins,
by far the
3
worst.
more wins.
Yeah. I mean, and you're in a position to get a great defensive player early in the first round. I don't think David Culley is going to be replaced after 1 year. And now, if next year they don't show any improvement and Davis Mills sucks, maybe. But to fire David Culley right at this point, I think that'd just be stupid. Why go into another head coach search when you've already got 4 more wins than I honestly thought they were going to get, at 4-11. So I completely disagree with that and just ride it with Mills. I mean, why not?
So I don't want to cut anyone off here again, but the NFL just announced that John Madden died this morning.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a big bummer.
Yeah, so.
Well,
anyway.
Yeah, R.I.P. John Madden. Obviously, football wouldn't be the same without him. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Didn't know the guy. But, his impact will live on for generations and generations, I assume.
I mean, it's a shame that EA is ruining his name by making the same game every year with updated rosters. But, I mean, there's no denying what he did as a coach. He's a legend. One of the greatest to ever do it.
All right, back to our regularly scheduled program. At number 6, while Bryce posts out to his 80,000 masses. Number 6, the first of many shocks on this list. Chicago Bears. Pros. Justin Fields, patient ownership, cap space. Cons. Missing draft capital, roster depth. Which, the Bears are not terrible. They've just been ridiculed by injuries. They have a pretty good defense when all healthy. The offense, yeah, I agree, it's not all there. And it's not.
He's right about the patient ownership, though. I mean, Nagy probably should have been fired 2 years ago, so I guess he's got that going. Finally said something smart in that one. But I mean, go ahead.
I was going to say, that's one of the most enticing jobs when you look at their defense is still talented. Justin Fields is only going to get better, and I think we were talking about this last week. The Ravens offensive coordinator, I've once again forgotten his name, was the perfect candidate for this job if it were to open up. And I think that still stands after another week of football. I mean, Josh Johnson didn't have a bad game. It's the defense that gave up 41 points. I mean, he shows he can do it with just about anyone. I feel like that's a perfect spot. And I think if the Bears want to succeed, it'd be to get a guy that knows the mobile quarterback, that knows how to get the most out of him. And every single week with Nagy is a week where you're missing out on seeing extra growth because we know Nagy isn't doing anything. I mean, he's just an awful head coach. So
they have the talent on offense, but it's not a lot. You have David Montgomery. You got Allen Robinson, who's on a franchise tag, I think. Darnell Mooney's really showing up this year, so I'm kind of surprised about that. But he still doesn't have an offensive line to protect him.
Yeah, it's just like I feel like a lot of people would want the challenge of going and taking over the Bears, especially every coach interviewed will be like, I can do better than Matt Nagy. All right.
And I'm sure they can too.
Number 5, speaking of John Madden, the Las Vegas Raiders, pros, quarterback, veteran pieces, desirable location. Cons, lack of young talent and depth. Again, I don't feel like they have good depth. They're in the wild card hunt. They were one of the better teams to start the season, which we've talked about a million times with a bunch of teams. The start
then
doesn't
their roster
matter.
Got depleted.
But that's the Las Vegas Raiders. They start hot. They don't do so well in the middle. Then maybe they rebound. And also, they've gone through literally everything this season, so you can't blame that on the roster.
But I mean, losing Henry Ruggs and who was that cornerback's name? Was it Amik Robertson that got cut? But losing both of them really hurt their depth at both positions.
Yeah, the Raiders were weird. Coming into the season, I was like, this is going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. They just traded away their entire offensive line. Their defense was atrocious, and they didn't really address it as much as I thought they should. And then, they're all of a sudden they're over exceeding expectations and playing really, really good football at the beginning of the season. They did the typical Raiders thing. They collapsed. Gruden's gone. Ruggs is gone. So I feel like this is a team I wouldn't want to become a head coach of right now where they're at. I don't think they have enough pieces. And I think the Raiders team we saw at the beginning of the year was definitely a fluke. And every chance of them not being a fluke kind of disappeared when the team morale was just shattered by the whole Ruggs incident. And that's just not a situation with that ownership and that fan base and that history that I really want to walk into right now. I don't even know where you start. I think they're just stuck in mediocrity right now. They're not going to be among the worst teams in the league, but they're not going to be a playoff team. And I don't think it's something you can fix in 1 or 2 years. So I'm not a fan of that job. And I don't have high hopes for whoever walks into that head coach role.
I think that should be lower on the list.
Really? I thought a lot of people would want to be the next Raiders head coach.
Well, I mean, it's an enticing place, but it's not a very enticing roster.
That's fair.
Because you don't have a lot of talent at the receiver position, unless you really, for some reason, like Zay Jones or Brian Edwards.
Number 4. Any guesses?
Panthers.
All right. You don't need gas price. You got it. Pros, young talent, cons, lack of quarterback, which they don't have lack of quarterback. They have 4 of them, and missing draft capital.
Good ones.
Thank you, Joe.
I mean, they have the pieces at defense, and they have some pieces on offense too. It's just the quarterback that they're missing. They have some pretty nice receivers with Robbie Anderson, Terrace Marshall, DJ Moore. You traded away probably your best tight end in Dan Arnold. Then you got Chuba Hubbard, who's a good backup to McCaffrey whenever he goes down. Seems like it happens twice a year, but they still have a good roster. I think a lot of it you can put on Matt Rule, and even probably a lot more you can put on the quarterback play.
Yeah, I really like this job. I think we saw what the Panthers could be when they started out hot. And I think if they were coached a lot better this season, we would have seen a lot more of it. And I'm not saying they would have won that division. I don't think it would have happened, but I think they would have definitely been in the wild card hunt, probably would have been right there. I mean, especially if a team like the Eagles or the Saints is going to sneak in at that 7 seed, there's no reason to think that the Panthers shouldn't be in that conversation after the way they played at the beginning of the year. So I think this is one of the best jobs you can get. I mean, the quarterback situation's dire, but the rest of the roster is there. I mean, all it takes is one nice move from the front office to get you a guy to get you out of that rock in a hard place at that position. And all of a sudden you have a playoff caliber roster right there. I mean, with Sam Darnold leading the charge, they were red hot out of the gate. So all you need is league average play. And I think you can be right in the thick of things. I like that job.
Number 3, the Shad and Tony Khan led Jacksonville Jaguars. Pro, young quarterback, patient ownership, cap space. Cons, rotten culture, lack of talent. They're just saying that Trevor Lawrence is why this job is 3. I don't think that this job is better than the Raiders or the Bears.
I mean, it's probably not a better job than the Raiders. The Bears, you have an argument there. But I mean, there's a lot of coaches that would want to coach Trevor Lawrence, and they have a high draft pick again, so you could get someone like a Kayvon Thibodeau there and have 2 generational studs at each side of the football.
I don't like this job because at the beginning of the season I said like this was a team that had enough draft capital to really build, but you needed to see a lot of good play from your young players, and they really haven't seen that. And I'm not saying it's Lawrence's fault because Urban Meyer was atrocious. The rest of the coaching staff, like mediocre, and everything about this job just feels like a trap, The cap space will be nice, but even the free agent acquisitions they made this past offseason haven't looked great. I mean, this team is just kind of stuck in neutral, and the ownership being patient would probably be the only upside, unless you can really get a lot out of Trevor Lawrence, which, I'm sure you can, but who's the right guy for that job, So I don't think this should be 3. I like it. I think it's on the same level as maybe the Raiders job, like down towards like maybe 6. I don't like that job.
All right. The last 2 teams, I'm not going to tell you who's who. Just give it a quick guess. Pros, talent on roster, patient ownership, veteran quarterback.
Cons, everyone has patient ownership on this list.
Cap flexibility, veteran quarterback. Note that veteran quarterback was pro and con. Team number 2, pro, young roster, cap space. Con, ownership uncertainty, lack of quarterback.
One of them has to be Denver.
Yes.
That's got to be number 1.
Garrett, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
No. Number 1 is Jackson Bowlines. You like that co-host, Minnesota Vikings. Number 2 is the Wavelengths darling for some reason, Denver Broncos. Like, I do not understand this fascination. The Broncos have one of the best rosters in the NFL. Okay. They don't really. Like, they're not that good.
They have nice receivers and now couple nice running backs, but their defense has been pretty depleted, I've noticed, at times this year.
Yeah.
Bradley Chubb's been injured a lot. Then they traded Von Miller, so you have no pass rush.
I like that job a lot, though. I feel like they're in the right direction. They're a lot similar to the Panthers. I feel like it's a team with 2 good running backs, an average offensive line, a defense that has tons of potential that has been patchy at times, but I mean the potential is, you can't argue it. A good receiving core. The piece that's missing is the quarterback. The only difference between this team and the Panthers is I think their quarterback situation is easier to resolve because you have less money tied up and less roster spots tied up. I mean, it's just Teddy Bridgewater. It's not PJ Walker, Cam Newton, Sam Darnold. I mean, for me, this is by far the most enticing job if the head coaching position were to open up. The only job that would rival it is the other team that we're talking about in the Vikings. I mean, I think this job is perfect as long as you get the right guy at quarterback. I think that's a playoff team within the first year.
If I'm Eric Bieniemy, I am leaving Los Angeles after playing in the Super Bowl and immediately getting on the first plane to Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am trading in that red and yellow for the purple and gold in a second. Yeah, Kirk might not be Patrick Mahomes, but that he needs to go there.
If I was Bieniemy, I'd rather be in Carolina, honestly.
Yeah, but Bieniemy going to Minnesota, like they can be in the playoffs next year. Carolina's not making the playoffs next year.
But I don't know if Kirk Cousins is the same quarterback that Pat Mahomes is. Like the same talent level, the same kind of quarterback. Really, Mahomes has a big arm; he can run. Kirk Cousins doesn't have that big of an arm, and he's not athletic. So,
but I mean, we've seen Cousins play some really good football this year. I mean, he is played at worst as a top 10 quarterback. If you can get that out of him again, there's no reason you should make the playoffs. All you have to do is be a competent coach, which Mike Zimmer has not been. And I mean, you're a playoff team. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, of course, are you going to get that out of Kirk Cousins? No one knows. That dude is so weird. But if you can,
you're not going to get it out of him consistently.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, he's going to have a bad game like we saw against Chicago when he tried to lose that game for some reason, or when they almost let the Steelers come back. It's bound to happen. But when Kirk Cousins plays good, all you got to do is get that maybe 10, 11 games. I mean, you're a playoff team unless you're just horribly coached like they have been this year. And so I don't know. I can see the attraction for both of those jobs in Bieniemy's case, but I agree with Steven here. I think that Minnesota job is just like a perfect fit for him, as long as he has a good defensive coordinator that can really keep that team from folding against the Lions, I guess,
We didn't talk about him, and it makes sense why we didn't, but I assume he's close to Garrett's heart. He is by far my favorite defensive coordinator that Jets have ever had. Greg Williams needs to be back in the NFL next year.
No, he should have gotten an NFL ban.
What?
Second. Yeah, he orchestrated Bountygate and gave the Saints a bad look.
Whatever. Sean Payton came back and they still made the playoffs. Greg Williams,
and he was a terrible D coordinator with Cleveland and the Jets.
No, he was decent with Cleveland and should have been head coach instead of Freddie Kitchens.
And was terrible with the Jets, so you
okay, because that one play, because they were tanking. That's not his fault. He just happened to be like the guy who called the play and like had to take
throughout the season. It
was a terrible defense last year.
I mean, he's obviously a good coach, but like that is just a shady guy. He's gotten in trouble in the past, and I don't even think he should be allowed to coach in the NFL. If Bountygate is this horrible thing that everyone says it is, especially in an era of the NFL when you're trying to take away those hits, that's the last guy that should have a job. I mean, he was the ringleader of some great quarterbacks getting absolutely laid out. Kurt Warner, Brett Favre, Peyton Manning, and every single team you could argue is going to try and get after the opposing quarterback and get some big hits on him. But I think what he did was completely illegal. And I think if they really want to fortify their feelings about big hits against the quarterback, that he should just not be back. I mean, if the Bountygate was as bad as everyone says it is.
It's funny that Steven said Greg Williams was close to Garrett's heart, then he just completely badmouthed him.
Yeah, I hate Greg Williams. Totally backfired.
He destroyed the Saints defense in the prime of Drew Brees' career when Drew Brees was throwing for 5,000 yards every single season, but the defense would rank 32nd. You know whose fault that was? It was Greg Williams, because he tried to pay his defensive players to hurt opposing quarterbacks and got everyone suspended and released, and the whole team went to shambles on that side of the ball. So Drew is throwing for 500 yards a game, and we're losing 49-42. So Greg Williams can just never be heard from again, and I wouldn't mind at all.
Sorry, Greg. Darn.
This is an anti-Greg Williams podcast.
Steven tried to do something here and say something nice about a coach, but it backfired on him.
Yeah, and the pro Ian Book, I was on your team, and I watched last night, and I don't think I can be on your team about that anymore.
That was a terrible outing for a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, I know he didn't have that much, hype coming into his first start, but oh my God, that was bad.
Yeah, his awareness, his pocket awareness was so bad.
His game awareness
Trevor Siemian, but yeah, It's the same guy, but just no experience, and you could tell.
He's throwing it away on 4th down, but won't throw it away on 1st down when he's got 3 rushers in his face.
Yeah,
He's got no situational awareness.
I can't be on the Pro Ian Book side anymore. I know his offensive line was completely hurt. Ramczyk was out. Armstead was out. Pete's out. I don't think McCoy played. Maybe he did. And Ruiz is the worst football player I've ever watched in my life, so he doesn't even count.
But still, he had time there.
Yeah, he had
options.
He had plenty of times where he would throw to the wrong guy, throw into double coverage when another guy was wide open, wouldn't make his reads, would take sacks when there was no reason to take sacks. I mean, it was awful. And
I won't fault him for that pick 6 though, since that was tipped at line of scrimmage.
Yeah, that wasn't even that bad. I mean, but I saw maybe one good throw the entire night that I was like, oh yeah, that was a nice throw. Like one. And you're gonna throw the ball 30 times and I can only see one that I'm like genuinely impressed with Sean Payton.
Got sacked 8 times too.
Yeah. 8, yeah. And maybe 2 or 3 were actually the line's fault and were not avoidable at all. But I mean, 5,
1 was just him holding the ball too long.
Yeah. 4 or 5.
And that's what we saw at Notre Dame throughout his entire career, was he won't throw the ball. He just holds on to it for what feels like 3 years at a time.
Yeah, and he wants to be mobile. You're not Josh Allen. You're not 6'5". He's 6 foot, barely over 200 pounds. You know, like, you're the first guy that touches you, you're going to go down. You're not a brick wall. I mean, you're Ian Book. Get the ball out of your hands or get off the field. I don't understand.
Felt bad for his parents that they had to stay there for 3 hours and watch it.
Yeah, no, that was bad. Just bad game all around.
This has been a lot of fun.
Greg Williams and Ian Booker are on my naughty list.
All right.
And so is Cliff Kingsbury, by the way.
On this final pod of 2021, we got a couple bangers week 17. Giants, Bears, Pats, Jags. All right. You guys didn't think that was funny. There's actually a couple good games and a lot of playoff implications for sure. Chiefs, Bengals, Rams, Ravens, Dolphins, Titans, Raiders, Colts, Eagles, Washington.
Bucks, Jets. I know and thought that was funny. I'll shut up now.
Cowboys, Cardinals, Browns, Steelers, kind of. Vikings, Packers, if Minnesota wins, but they won't. So is there one of those out of the ones I said somebody really likes? Obviously, I think Chiefs, Bengals.
Bengals has to be my favorite out of that.
Yeah.
2 high-powered offenses going at it for 3 hours, and with some serious playoff implications too for the Bengals. That should be really good.
I agree. I think that's by far the best game of the week, especially after the way the Bengals played last week. I mean, they looked like the prime Chiefs, and now they get to go up against the Chiefs, so I think that'll be a lot of fun. I also really like the Vikings Packers because that's a divisional game. Minnesota already beat them once, and they are clinging on to that number 1 seed, and a loss could completely throw the entire NFC playoff picture into a loop. So those 2 games by far are my favorites, and I think they need to be watched if you can.
Rams Ravens might be good too. I don't know if Steven mentioned that, but that should be a pretty good game.
Before people are like, you don't know how TV works. I understand that CBS is definitely going to do Chiefs Bengals, but it's stupid that this is a 1:00 game and most of the country won't get it. I understand that they wanted it, but 4 times the amount of people will watch it on NBC, and I bet NBC was like, fine, we'll settle for Packers, Vikings. But I don't know. Has Mahomes already been on primetime 6 times? Because I know that's the rule too. Joe Burrow has never played on Sunday Night Football.
Well, in their defense, I don't think anyone thought the Bengals were going to be this good.
Yeah, but you
quickly.
And I know you need 2 weeks notice to switch it for whatever reason. But I don't want to see Packers Vikings again. I feel like every Packers rivalry game is on primetime, and we don't care.
And they're not very good games either.
Yeah, I don't want to watch them playing the Bears. No one wants to watch the Bears.
That Packers Bears game was terrible.
Packers Bears, we saw Packers Lions, we saw Bears Lions. Didn't the Vikings play on
get Packers
Thursday Night
Lions as a
Football?
great history game, but still, no one wants to see the Packers demolish the Lions for 3 hours.
It's because Aaron Rodgers went and hosted Jeopardy and then got on a tangent about this being his last dance. So we have to show every single one of his games because we all saw the Michael Jordan documentary in the offseason, and the NFL wants that for their league. But you can't win one Super Bowl and then go on a last dance. You're not Michael Jordan. So let's quit with that. I don't want to watch the Lions. I don't want to watch the Bears. I kind of want to watch Minnesota because it's always something funny going on when Minnesota plays. But other than that, I don't want to watch the NFC North. I'm tired.
Yeah, I want to see Mike Zimmer's last dance.
Yeah, no, yeah, we're watching it right now. I mean,
I really
2 weeks left.
What's another good one this week? I totally forgot what I just said. Anyways, the Steelers,
Cardinals, Cowboys.
Yeah, I think Joe Buck's going to be there. Hopefully, it's good luck.
Oh yeah, that'll be a good game. The Cardinals need to win, but the Cowboys just absolutely decimated the team with no name. Send your prayers to Deontay if he's watching. But God, that was awful. I mean, they were fighting on the sideline. That was the funnest thing about that game. It was like Madden, setting the difficulty to rookie and then just destroying the worst overall team. It was awful. So I don't think
two
the Cowboys are
former
going to
college teammates too.
Yeah, exactly. They went to Alabama together. They're used to winning, beating the Citadel by that much. Now here they are sitting on the wrong bench. They just got bored, I guess. I don't know. That was the funnest thing about that game.
It'll be interesting to see if Dallas can keep this hot streak going against probably one of the best teams in the NFC, if not the best.
Those two teams always play good games. I'm used to watching them on Thanksgiving. They played on Thanksgiving a couple times in the last few years, and they always, it's two high-powered offenses, two defenses that have their moments, especially Dallas with Micah Parsons now. So I think that's going to be a really, really good game. And it's right up there with Packers, Vikings, and Chiefs, Bengals for me. So I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Before, I want to talk about moments from here past 9 months that we all really enjoyed. But let's talk some award stuff because I feel like MVP now, it's just Brady and Rodgers and Jonathan Taylor still trying to be there. How do you guys feel about this Cooper Kupp thing? Okay, before I'll let you guys think about that. But I hate in these when the receiver gets the love, but not the quarterback. I understand Matthew Stafford isn't the most valuable player, but he's the one throwing him the ball. But I also understand that if Cooper Kupp is getting, 60% of Matthew Stafford's stats, that makes sense. But I always just hate when the receiver gets the love and not the quarterback. As weird as that sounds, because
I've come on here a couple of times pro Matthew Stafford. He's responsible for arguably two of the greatest wide receiver seasons in recent memory. Let's give this man his credit. I don't think he's MVP, especially after last week. He played horrible. But let's give this man his credit. That Megatron season, this Cooper Kupp season, he finds a guy and he keeps throwing to that guy. And they make things happen. They win games because of it. Maybe, Lions are going to only win so many games, but I think without Megatron and Stafford that season, they could have gone and win 16 again. So, he's not the MVP. I don't think Cooper Kupp is the MVP. Kudos to him. He's having a great season, but I just think they both deserve the respect, and I think it should not go unnoticed that Matthew Stafford was responsible at QB for this Cooper Kupp season and that legendary Megatron season. So that's my 2 cents on it.
I don't think he should be either. Because if you take him off the Rams, the Rams still have a high-powered offense with now OBJ. They got Van Jefferson, my favorite. Robert Woods, you still got Higbee, still got a great run game too. So there's still a high-powered offense, but having Cooper Kupp is just a nice addition to that offense, especially where they drafted him.
Is Josh Allen still in this conversation for MVP?
I wouldn't put him there. As much as it pains me to say it, because I wish he won it last year, I don't think he should be. He's been, as much as his stats reflect last year's, he hasn't been the same quarterback as he was last year. He's been too inconsistent in his games.
That's fair. I was just wondering because I feel like this race is still wide open, and we just had a great game against the best defense in the league. I just wonder if there's anything in these last 2 weeks, if you continue this hot streak, that could maybe put him up there, especially with Brady just having a donut a couple weeks ago. You know,
maybe in top 5, I would put him.
That's fair.
I think it'll be Aaron Rodgers. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the dude only has 4 interceptions this entire season. You know, so I mean, he's got to be the leader. I think after that, for me, it goes in no particular order with just like Brady and Jonathan Taylor. And I had Allen in that same category. And I really wanted Stafford to do good because I'm pushing that agenda. But I think he kind of just showed himself to the door after this week.
If he kept up his early season momentum, I think he would be at least in top 2.
Yeah, he got the Russell Wilson award.
Another thing I hate about all these awards is when like Jonathan Taylor's going to win Offensive Player of the Year, but not MVP.
Yeah, it's a quarterback award. I mean,
so how is he the best player on offense, but then a different offensive player on a different team at a different position won it? Like,
I think it's like spice it up for the ratings. You know, if you give a player MVP and Offensive Player of the Year, it's less players to get awards, less players that you can advertise.
If Aaron Rodgers isn't going on stage and accepting no award on a Thursday night on ABC before the Super Bowl, he's going to be in the Super Bowl.
I don't know. He's going to be hosting Jeopardy.
He's trying to keep up his Last Dance agenda. Steven is.
No, the Packers got it. There's no reason why we should think that they're not going to win the Super Bowl.
So you changed your opinion from the Cardinals, and now you're a Packers fan.
I said that. No, I'm still, Zona forever, but Packers are the best team in the NFL.
I said
they
Rams
might beat
Bills
the Grey Cup champion.
It's going to be Rams Bills. It's going to be. The only team that's going to derail that is the Colts, possibly.
Oh, and Carson. Bad luck strikes him again.
Yeah, and then Sam Ellinger leads them to the Super Bowl because that's just the most.
And then he gets a $100 million deal.
Yeah,
or was it $200 million? I should say.
Who did the Colts play this week?
They played the Raiders.
I mean, Jonathan Taylor's just going to go nuts.
Wentz should come back though.
Yeah, maybe for next week.
No, I mean, the NFL updated their quarantine rules they moved it from 10 days to 5 days. So now,
so like if he tests negative Sunday, he's good?
Yeah.
Oh,
now where guys like Cole Beasley, when they're unvaccinated, they would have missed, say, Falcons game. Now he can come back for that.
Weird. All right. Well, we got a couple minutes left. Whoever wants to go first, give me a moment or something that happened on this here show the past months since you two have been here. You don't have to be, when both of you were here. It could be one time it's me and just Garrett, or one time, Bryce Tolva and I or something. But any good memories?
I gotta go with my background for the last few weeks. Tolva just making out with that sandwich.
It was a burrito.
Whatever it was. Burrito sandwich.
I wasn't on the pod. I wasn't on this pod, but I think you guys were talking about, I watched it, I think you guys were talking about Dwayne Haskins. And Steven, you said something about getting his fingers wet, and Deontay just lost his mind. And I thought that was so funny. So for me, that's the wavelengths moment of the year. I
remember that, yeah.
Is the fingers wet incident of 2020.
Yeah, that was a wild time. There was very little to talk about. It was just me and Deontay. No one was really around either. Like, I don't know, we might have talked about basketball at first, and then
that was before I got the balls to come on, I imagine.
Oh yeah, that was like June. That was a long time ago. And isn't it sad that like less than 2 months from now, that's where we'll be? I mean, we'll be talking about NBA, which, is I like talking about the NBA, but the NFL kind of gives you a little more little more meat on that bone.
We need MLB lockout to end by then, so we can start talking about all the free agents that haven't been signed yet, and we can go on our anti-Rob Manfred streaks, because my honorable mention of the year for moment of the year was my 10-minute rant on why the MLB is structured so poorly. So
yeah, I mean,
we're putting together a compilations of best moments. I mean, it's got to be on there, Steven.
Oh, for sure. Like anything anti-Rob Manfred shoots right up to the top. It's better than anything Tova said. Yeah, I mean, started this. I had no idea how it was going to go. It's been a lot of fun. We've talked to a lot of great people. I've gotten to know you guys pretty well. So that's been a lot of fun. I don't know. I don't want to get too sappy at the end. So, Bryce, you got 2.5 minutes. Whatever you want to say about week 17, week 18, the playoffs, whatever you want.
I just got to say, I really hope Miami knocks New England out of the playoffs somehow.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, because they're in the 7th seed right now, and they still have a chance to knock New England out.
That'd be just superb. What about you, Garrett?
I want to see someone completely unforeseen in these last 2 weeks go for like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns and completely destroy the fantasy football playoffs.
Van Jefferson.
Yeah. That's fine. Whoever it's got to be. I mean, Sports Waves fantasy championship's already been decided, but I know it's a sore subject for certain someone. But
I can't believe it.
Yeah, you beat both of us. I mean, I also had 3 quarterbacks in the first 5 rounds, so I'm grateful I made it.
I'd like to add it was a 14-man league, and my first rounder was Derrick Henry, and I moneyballed my way to the championship thanks to Dallas Cowboys defense and Dak Prescott. So shout out the Cowboys for winning me Sports Wave Fantasy Championship this year.
Oh, boo-hoo.
And then Gaskin had to finally score more than 2 points.
The Gaskin special, maybe 4 points, but she was enough. That's all we needed. It was just a quick Gaskin.
My first
special
5 picks were Taylor, obviously like an incredible pick. Joe Mixon. Who else did I even have? Josh Allen, Herbert, and Mahomes.
Yeah, and then I went on like a nice little sixer. All 3 off on me.
Yeah, that strategy just did not work out. I mean, I'll probably try it next year just because I'm an idiot and I won't be happy until it works. But I don't know, it was a lot of fun. So congratulations, Garrett.
Playoffs. Yeah, thank you. I'm honored. I'm gonna win it again next year. I got to come back stronger than ever and see if you boys can hang. Unless you take 3 of my quarterbacks again, Steven. I mean, you tried to derail me, but gonna be even better next year.
Someone had to do it. Bryce, how much do the Bills win by this week? I don't even know who they're playing.
They're playing Atlanta. We got to win by 30 here.
Yeah.
I'll say a good 40-14.
Well, we'll see you after week 17 on Sunday. Everyone, Garrett, Bryce, have a safe new year. We'll see you on Sunday.